Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today, in spite of this cold weather. So today we would like to welcome Bhaktimarga Swami. He's also known as the Walking Monk. So he was born in Chatham. Did I say it correctly?
Chatham, Ontario.
Chatham, Ontario, in Canada. So as a youth, Swami was a student of fine arts, and he became a Hare Krishna monk at the age of 20 in the year 1973. Yeah. So he's well known as the Walking Monk. He's trekked 4 times across Canada from coast to coast, and many other countries like the USA, Israel, Ireland, Guyana, Trinidad, Mauritius, and the Fiji Islands. His experiences during his travels are documented in 2 films. The Longest Road by the Canadian National Film Board, and another film, Walking, The Lessons of the Road by Michael Ost. So in 2022, Swamiji published his most anticipated, the first published book, which is The Saffron Path, Trekking the Globe with the Walking Monk, detailing his adventures and his insights as an international marathon walker. He's also an author, playwright, director, filmmaker, and poet. During the pandemic, Bhaktimarga Swami created 2 short films, Grandsire and The Embassy. The Embassy was garnered the Crown Wood and the Chambal International Film Festival Awards, and was also a quarter-finalist in the Canadian International Short Film Festival. He is also a well-known teacher of Bhakti Yoga, and he is also leader of the musical mantra meditation, the Sankirtana. Today we have an opportunity to hear from the Walking Monk himself and about the incredible people, the animals, the journeys he has had during his travels. So without further ado, I would like to once again welcome you, Swamiji, and request you to share your incredible philosophical insights with us today.
Thank you so much, Bhagavad. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Great. And I think what I'll do is present a little bit of a book launch, because it's my first opportunity. First time I ever set ground on this campus here, and it is a very nice campus. It's beautiful. Recently I was in Honolulu, and I went to their main university there, and this far out does their campus there. That it needs a little TLC over there, you know. Okay, from being stalked by a grizzly bear to being mistaken for an escaped prison inmate, the Walking Monk braves the elements and adventure across the globe to bring you the tales only trails can tell. So that's on the outskirts now of this book. And I was very passionate to detail all the events that happened during the course of the walking. And I was born in this country, so I was always quite crazy about it. I love it. And in the 60s when I grew up, there was a real, Canada first got its real identity as a nation unto itself, less so as a colony from the great empire, because Pierre Elliott Trudeau was an outstanding leader at the time, and there was a lot of talent coming out of Canada, recognized by the people, and also part of the counterculture. I was part of the counterculture, which means people who were opposed to, the Vietnam War and many of the other mandates that were going on at that particular time, right? So I felt I had to document everything, and so I did. Every day I was journaling, and journaling is always a good thing, like if you have time. Students are pretty busy, but if you have time, just jot down a few notes of what you learned that day or the experiences you had with folks, and then you look at it later and, oh yeah, and it just gives you something to retell other individuals about. And it kind of puts a closure to the previous day. Now you can start afresh, anew. And so that's what I learned from journaling. Journaling became a big part of my life. So I'll just read one of the poems. During the pandemic, I couldn't do some of the normal things that I was used to because I don't always walk. I also fly around and get invited to festivals and work with young people and put together, dramas for the festivals like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata or stories extracted from there. So when I walked across America, which I did over a span of 2 years, that's 2015, and over the period of the summer months, because you got questions, I know you do. Well, how do you do it? Where do you stay at night?
Yeah.
When you have to go to the washroom, where do you go? Blah, 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 So the theme was walking for our teachers, like it's an underrated group of people that we don't recognize enough. We can't thank them enough. So here, to my teacher, your arrival to the USA was a draw to pull us away from the culture of the gun, all the trigger happy fun. You set our finger to feed and string, gave us a song that we could sing, a different tune, a different drum, a magnet to which many would come. We turned down fish, fowl, and cow. Our palate knows better now. Food became not just food, but a product of the devotion's mood. Life became a makeover, a reversal of ways and thoughts. It was an untying of prejudicial knots. We even denied denim pants, for in robes and saris we now dance. The word service has now a different meaning. Even the toilet is appealing at the time of cleaning. In that spirit, the sun always rises. It is in giving we observe endless surprises. You direct us where pilgrims go to lands sacred that sages know. The land of India has become an attraction, as is America, where my feet now have traction. Hare Krishna.
People.
So, in the book, I'll just tell a little bit about the book. Here's my parents and their marriage or engagement, okay? They came from the Netherlands. I'll just talk about my family a little bit because they're the people that shape you, right? More or less, Canada liberated Holland during the Second World War. And so people from the Netherlands or Holland were very grateful to Canadians for giving them that freedom. And so a lot of things happened at that time. A lot of babies were born, fathered by Canadians, mothered by Dutch muttagees. And then the Canadian boys, it was near the end of the war, so they didn't know there were babies. So a lot of children came out of that not knowing who their fathers were. So there was a big, sort of separation gap there. And but a lot of Dutch folks thought, Canada's been very good to us. They freed us. And it's a big country, and it's a land of opportunity. So many Dutch folks actually came. They actually came to settle down, and they liked areas that were flat and fertile, so they could farm. And so my parents were a couple that were one of those many people that came down. So my parents were Roman Catholic, and they were quite religious. They stuck to old values, and that was passed on to our generation. I was the oldest of 6 kids, and after a year and a half, I had a sister. Year and a half, I had a brother. Year and a half, I had a sister. And year and a half later, it was a brother and a sister, like twins. So we all like each other. In fact, when there's a birthday, we get on the phone and we have a Zoom call and just see each other and we just talk silly. So, even though I'm a monk and I took formal initiation as a Swami, we can still be human, I think some people, they feel that, here's a Swami, let's straighten out. Well, yeah, okay, there's a little bit of fear that strikes, but at the same time, you can appreciate that we're humans and we like to eat, and we do all the things that normal people do. You can even burp after you have a meal. It doesn't matter. All those things are normal, but our life is dedicated to a world, to to the land, to the landscape, and the people, you know? And that's the way I always felt about my role in society. I didn't get married, but I felt I married a mission. And that mission was ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And married to the project, which is to share wisdom, to share your thoughts, your experiences, and offer to people a goal, a projection. Yes, education is important, but like Krishna states to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, of all sciences, the best science is the science of life, you know? And to gain information about yourself, gain your true identity. A lot of people suffer from identity crisis. They're not sure, you know, am I am I from India? Am I from Canada? Am I man, woman? You know, there's a lot of things stirring up inside these days. But the true identity, according to the teachings from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, is that I am spirit, aham brahmasmi, and I'm not this body. So forget that idea about the machine being you. I'm not a machine. I'm more than a machine. I'm the operator of the machine. I'm the spirit behind the machine. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
or
Mark.
should I do this? Would this be better? Okay. Then I will do your wish is my command. The thing about Krishna consciousness, or being a bhakta of Krishna, is that you're sold out to people and to the world. And so you want to improve the world because it needs improving. This last year, 2023, was a difficult time, you know. Remember the fires that spanned all over? Even New York City was cursing Canada for all the fires that were. And of course, there's the war. A very, let's say, disturbing for me and other people is the problems, the agitation in the Middle East. And of course, we've got the Ukraine and Russia, you know. And you know what's the worst of it all is that just like during the pandemic, did some of you had friends that said, virus, yay, or, you know, whatever was the cure, vaccine. It tore people apart, and you had to make decisions. And you know, people are quite polarized. Like we are in Canada, we still have our opinions, even about our, you know, neighbors down south, on the other side of the border. Is it Biden or is it you know who? And we get so polarized, you'd have to take sides. Is it Israel or Palestine? I have friends who are from Russia, live in Russia, and some of them actually have migrated here, and they're for Russia, and some are for the Ukraine, and so it's very agitating, it's very disturbing. I've never seen such a polarization in my whole life. So the purpose of, you know, walking across Canada and other places is try to unite. Many of you weren't here, but in 1995, Canada almost broke apart politically. Quebec, which is kind of a unique province, the largest landmass-wise, is predominantly resided by Francophones. And many of those people carried the sentiments, well, we don't need those Anglos, you know, and so let us separate, you know. There was a real intense vote that went on. You remember Go-To Junta, right? And, you know, I think the Liberal Party bought all the papers, all the pages to the newspaper, and were promoting vote no, which means no, do not separate. And it was very intense for Canada. And I remember France looking at with great interest, oh, what's happening there, you know? We might get our colony back, you know? So all these things that kind of are somewhat agitating can be resolved through a practice on a higher level of what we call Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. So that year, 1995, now just to get to my own personal stuff, it was a very tough year, and someone had determined that I was going through my Rahu K2 period. You ever heard that before? Dark planets. And it was I had decided that I should take a different turn. I should just do something a little different than what I was already doing. I was involved in a lot of administrative work, and I was in Toronto, a very large community, thriving community. But I thought it was best, to take a hike, but not to fly a kite, but to take a hike, do something different, right? And go for a very long meditative walk. And because I mentioned I like Canada, I'm a patriotic monk, I decided let me start from Vancouver Island, and I'll work my way on foot, walking all the way to St. John's, Newfoundland. That would mean over 8,000 kilometers on foot, and it ended up that I was doing 42 kilometers a day, which is actually a marathon. If you check with or people who are running marathons and during the time of the Olympics and in Athens, that they did, and I didn't know that was it. That was the figure, the golden figure, but it ended up being that way. And so I started off with a support person. I know you're going to probably ask some questions about the methodology behind it all, and how do you deal with the weather? Well, I usually start around May the 1st. I started in the mid-April on Vancouver Island. The weather's quite mild. Once you get to the mainland and to the mountains, in a place called Hope, BC, which is pretty hopeless when it comes to, then it's real winter. Okay, so I left Toronto with winter and flew over to the west coast. That was clearly spring on Vancouver Island. Once I got to the mainland beyond Vancouver itself, it was winter again. But it was thawing. It was that very special time. And it was very meditative. It was very beautiful. I had a support person, and his name was Dave. Dave, I just have to think his last name is French Canadian. Dave Poirier. And he was available. He was single and he was male because I'm, a monk. I can't have montages with me, right? So you can understand that, ladies. And so he was available and he wanted to go for the adventure, and so we used his van. 1979, old jalopy. Really, it was pretty pathetic looking. It had different colors of chocolate, brown, different patches of it. It looked really quite like out of the Third World War. And so our method was we would stay somewhere in the night. Like this is mid-April in the mountains, and there's still snow around, and we would go sometimes by a glacial-fed stream, and there was like snow at the edge, and you'd have to go somewhere, take a bucket, and we were committed to showering. I didn't want to be stinky monk, So you take a shower, and then as soon as the water hits, that's cold water, and you've got a warm body, a cloud goes up into Vaikuntha, and and it would be quite austere. And my support guy, Dave, would bring me to the spot from where I left off the day before. He would drive me there. So that was the way we did it, And we went across the country like that. I had other people he dropped out for a while. He was attracted to a lady, so Honeyball Dave. And then someone else came on board from the UK. And I found out later on he was driving, but he didn't have a license. So I was, Krishna sent me interesting people, and so everything was going really good. Going through the mountains took from BC right up to Calgary took a month, and I wasn't used to. I'm used to flat land, so I felt kind of claustrophobic, and. But you get used to anything. The sun might come up at 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock, and then it goes over on this side, hides on the other side of the mountain at 1 o'clock, if the sun was even there, right? So you're kind of missing the sun. Oh, don't go away. I miss you. Once I got to Alberta here, I was, and I walked through Calgary. There was this gentleman. Most of this is in the book. It's a very interesting read. And so one taxi, this is before the days of Uber, a cab driver pulled over and said, "My name is Bala, and I saw you, you're wearing God's clothes, so I thought I should stop and take you anywhere where you want to go. So where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Newfoundland." Okay, he said, "I can't quite go there." It was just nice to meet people along the way. That was a big deal, to make friends along the way. Many folks who do these marathons, they're there to, say, and there are marathons, there are runners, there's cyclists, and people are raising funds for awareness towards MS, and this disease, this problem, mental awareness. And but I was doing something a little different. I wasn't raising money. I was not a fundraiser, but a friend raiser. My intent was to get down to where the people are and let them know that there's something like a Hare Krishna monk in the world. Or if they had heard about us, the public that is, in the 70s, and we went off the radar in the 80s. And so now it's the 90s, and it's time to get out there and let them know we're still alive and we're kicking, right? So it worked, the program. So then I walked through the prairies, and it was very interesting. But even before I got to the prairies, in a place called Chilliwack, which is in BC, this was the first instance, and it was quite common throughout. Royal Canadian Mounted Police pulled over and said, "Okay, do you have your ID?" I said, "Here, go." And he didn't explain anything. I was walking along the Trans-Canada Highway with a friend at that time. And I said, "So everything's okay? Excuse me, officer, can you tell me, is there some problem?" I said, "Well, you're in Chilliwack, and there's a prison here, and the guys all wear orange, and you're wearing orange. So I got some calls that your escapee is out here, and that's why I'm checking you out." So that was quite common, and throughout Canada and also in the US. Maybe more in the US, especially where there's more intense population on the northeast side, Once you get into the Midwest, it's a different experience. So what's it like in the prairies where, people are a little more conservative? Maybe Calgary started to change. It had a redneck reputation, right? But it's changed. It's white collar type folk, people from all over the world are coming here. So now it's reached that status of, not being backwards, if I could say that nicely. Yeah. I remember I was journaling everything, as I mentioned, and I think it was late May. We took a swim, my first swim in the lakes. I'm a water baby. I love swimming. And when you're walking long distances and you're getting hot and getting sweaty, then you just have to go for a dive once in a while. Another thing is that when it gets hot, which it does in the prairies, you sweat, So my Dave, he was our official cook, but then it became unofficial when I told him, "Dave, I'm not into your saltless kick, your health kick. You've got to put some sodium in there because I'm discharging it every day." And he was a lousy cook. Good driver, lousy cook. And then he would cook roti, chapatis, right? Because we had a Coleman stove, and we do make khichdi. Anybody know what khichdi is?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it about the best food?
Yeah.
Students like it, right? Yes, so he would cook that every day, and no salt in the khichdi. Oh my God, come on! And then the chapatis, he got the idea. Somewhere someone told him the chapati must have sort of brown spots on it, and then you flip it over. And I said, no, David. I've been in the kitchen with lots of ladies from India. I know what I'm doing, so you just let me do the cooking and you read something. You read the Bhagavad Gita to me. So, we switched roles a little bit like that. I had wonderful experiences with meeting people of the indigenous, our indigenous people. In fact, my favorite place of all is in Cape Breton. That's where you spend some time, okay? And it's the people are just a little more laid back and friendly and all that. And I came to a place called Eskasoni, And I think it's a population maybe anywhere from 700 to 1,000 people. And that day that I walked through that town, I got in the Cape Breton Post. It was on page 5, on the obituary page, where they announce everyone that died, right? And I was just wondering, why did we get on that page at all? So one Indian gentleman who was walking with me, and I said, why did they put us on the page number 5? And he said, relax, Swami. Everyone in Cape Breton reads the obituary page the most. But because we got in the paper, everyone reads the newspaper, and so there was just an overwhelming response from people, honking of horns, and then it was raining out that particular day. It was indeed, rainy season. And someone offered me their Vortex coat, which is supposed to keep you dry, and they're expensive, Then another guy pulled over, and these are mostly indigenous folks. He pulled over and gave me an umbrella, which they use on the golf course. They're huge, right? So I said I could use that. Then I walked by a daycare center, and 2 ladies came out. We heard what you're doing. I could understand now. People were calling, there's that monk, and he's coming. He's going by your house, so you might want to meet him, So that's exactly what they came, and they came with a tore out piece of the paper. This you, can you autograph it? Like, I'm not a celebrity, ladies, I'm just a monk. So I did, and then we had a real nice discussion. I told them our name of God is Krishna. They told me their name they're from the Mi'kmaq community. So on the East Coast, most people are Mick, or it starts with Mick or a Mac, or you're a Mi'kmaq, like Scottish, Irish descent, or indigenous. So it was nice to meet those ladies. They were very kind. Another guy pulled over, you need this, and he got like a $20 bill. Anything to help us out. And then we came to a road stop, and the bus stopped, and out poured all these kids. And they came under my big umbrella, which had rain, we had rain coming. They all came, and they were looking at, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm walking across Canada. What for? What for? And I would tell them I'm walking for the spiritual healing of our nation. Oh, okay. So then the rain really came down from this point on, and there was a general store there, kind of a confectionery store, where they sell everything full of salt and sugar, like everything's bad for you, like chocolate bars and everything full of salt and everything that's going to kill you, right? And they also had like a lot of hunting equipment, like hooks for fishing and things like that, anything that for sportsmen. So there was the only Caucasian lady that I saw there was the woman who ran the place, probably owned it too. She was very small, and she goes, "Oh, so you're the monk that's walking across Canada?" I said, "Well, yes, I am." "Well, you can take anything off the shelf that you like, and it's yours." And I was so overwhelmed by her charitable nature, her kindness, that I just didn't know what to do. Of course, for a monk, I'm not going to get any fishing hooks, or there's nothing there for me. And so anyways, the rain subsided now, and I kept walking, and the last person I met in the town was kind of a tall fellow. I guess you would call him a brave in native culture, and he comes with a big smile. "Hi, so, hi. What are you doing?" So I'm walking across Canada for the spiritual healing of the nation. "And you're walking across Canada? And you came to our town?" Like, a lot of people come through our town, but they don't walk. "Thanks for coming." He just like lit up like that, and so that was my favorite town, meeting with the local folks. The indigenous people, I did try to participate with them in Fort Francis, which is in northern Ontario. We went for a husking. They harvest wild rice up there, And has anybody ever had wild rice? Oh, it's so good. It's better than basmati or anything, or brown rice. It's really the best, you know? And so I was there with the folks participating in the husking. You know, they have this device that blows all the outer part away, and you're left with the kernel. And the kernels are about this big, and they're quite dark, you know? And they have a very nice nutty flavor. Wild rice, check it out, you know? Your mother won't like it, but you may. So, I also spent some time with them tanning. Like, they go and they take the deer skin and they dry it. So we were just exchanging stories. I was talking about stories from the Vedas, you know, well, they were telling their stories from their ancestors, you know. So it was really important to get connected with them. I also went to some of the schools and we taught the kids how to chant and how to dance, you know. And so making that connection was really great. There was one place, however, and I wrote about it in the book too, in Ojibwe camp. That's near Sault Ste. Marie. It's in northern Ontario. And one fellow came in there, and he was a native person. And this is not to say that everybody's like that. This is where you're walking across Canada. And I said, it's for the spiritual healing of the nation. You don't know, you're a white man. You don't know how to do any healing. Only us native people know how to do spiritual healing. Anyways, we couldn't even walk straight. It was just all over the place. And I said, no point in arguing with him, no point in talking to him, you know. But in general, I love these people. And yeah, so we met those folks. We met people who are kind of fanatical and, you know, like religiously, both in the US and Canada. They're committed to Jesus. And we don't have anything against Jesus. To us, he's like a cool guy. He's just like a sadhu. He's like a saint, you know. We don't have a problem. And Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj, he said that we accept him as a guru, you know, like he's a teacher, like that. But of course, they'll come around and swing around and say, only guru, the only way, the truth. They won't even say the word guru. It's like a bad word for them, a bad 4-letter word. But it was really wonderful when we went through the prairies on my 4th walk across Canada. And my support guy was someone from Winnipeg. And Daruka is his name. He got a spiritual name, just like I took on a spiritual name. And he also had his pet, which is a blue-front Amazon parrot, and it's a bird that talks, right? So we are going to these little towns in southern Manitoba, and first of all, it's northern Ontario, Manitoba and Saskatchewan especially, where there are a lot of Mennonites and Amish people there, Hutterites. They're like people of German descent, and they live a very simple kind of lifestyle, farming mostly. They're into family, they're into the Bible, and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, so we were getting into all the schools. Although the principals were saying, yeah, bring in the monk. And so then what they would do, what the folks would do, there are some chairs here too, by the way. What they would do is the principal would tell all the teachers, they'll have all the students coming into the gymnasium, grade 1 to 12, and then we would have a half hour with them, the students. And we tell them about that I'm a Krishna monk, and I'm walking across Canada, and I'd go over the provinces with them. So it was a little bit like a mix of a geography class, and a little bit about history and how it's good to be out there, be out of doors. So teachers really liked it, they did, and they especially loved to hear the parrot say something, like when you offer him a potato chip, she'll go, hello, so the kids, they get all crazy. One of the reasons why the teachers enjoyed our walks and what we were doing, our purpose, was they have a hard time to get the kids away from the devices. Is that a disease or not? Is it an addiction? Mm-hmm. Not amongst you folks, right?
It is.
It is?
It
Okay.
is.
Yeah, you're glued to it. Thank you for coming, everyone. There's still a few chairs here.
There were also some redneck kind of people. They're nasty. They get out of town, like some Westerner, like a cowboy, that kind of thing. Get out of town. And I would have to kind of process this and think, well, how should I deal with this? And so I gave it a real big thought. First of all, I took offense. I felt a little threatened. But then, as a Swami, I shouldn't feel that way, right? I should feel, okay, that's coming to me. I need to be humbled from time to time, right? But I also had a heart for those people. So initially, when I was thinking about this, when I got the first remark in a place called Salmon Arm, DC, who said, get out of town, right? And they were in a convertible. Usually red vehicle people are the strangest, you know, they're the most aggressive. Get out of town. So anyways, they drove off. They say, like a coward, they say, slow down, make their message, and then they take off. And so I was thinking, okay, if I see that person later on, you were the one that told me to get out of town. Well, you know what? Your town isn't worth staying in. I'm just walking through. It isn't even worth walking through. Okay, I could be nasty like that. But then my heart softened, and I thought, well, really, I should be controlling my mind, my senses. I'm a Swami. So hopefully we could have a discussion. So from that point on, I figured that if anybody, you know, sends some nasty message out there, like whether it's verbally or with fingers, you know, like in India you have mudras, you learn to dance, but in Canada they're not so developed. And they have finger language, right? So that comes out once in a while. And then, you know, so when it would, I rehearsed, I prepared myself. Okay, come on over, you get something to come on over, and hopefully they'll look in the rear view mirror. Okay, you, me, talk together. So it actually worked. I was in Sault Ste. Marie, and there were a couple of guys. It was summertime, and the windows were down, and they had like mechanic. They were just working in a mechanical shop or something like that, in a garage, and they shouted, "Ah!" like something like that's the way it came through me, right? And then I decided, oh, I'll use my technique. Come on over. So then immediately they did a U-turn. He says, oh my God, what did I get myself into? So they came over. I said, what? What? And I said, well, you just shouted at me. I said, well, we just said hello. Oh, I see, okay. So I was mistaken. So you get a little bit of that negativity, but mostly people are very kind-hearted, friendly. I'll give you another idea. One fellow, he pulled over and said, you know, I don't know what you're doing, why you're here, but when I was a young kid growing up, there was a monk, and he really took care of me I was in a depression. He really helped me, and I was never able to pay him back. So here you go, and he gave me a nice shiny $100 bill, just to, you know, to help with the expenses, and just, you know, he wanted to reciprocate somehow. So that's the best way. When I was on my walks, I have been called different things. Been called Gandhi. I've been called Buddha Boy. I was called Jesus. I was called a moving traffic cone. I was called Kevin Spacey, who's an actor. And a few people, you know, he's a bad guy. Did some bad things. And, you know, so, but that's okay. I was called Grasshopper because there was a TV show, I think in the 80s, where there's a martial arts. And, you know, Airbender or something like that guy who has some kind of thing here in the forehead. So anyways, I don't take offense. It's always great to meet people. And that's the purpose. Go out there, connect with people, make heart connections with individuals, and try to, like say, break the back of any stigma that people have about, you know, spirituality. Now, this color, oftentimes I'm mistaken for being a Buddhist, and I can clarify, no, I am a monk. Hari, I say Krishna. And they say, Christian? No, Krishna, like Hare Krishna, India, you know. And then most of the people get, oh yeah, Hare Krishna. Oh yeah, those people on the streets, they sing and dance, right? Then kind of, you know, the Beatles, you know, George Harrison, although you give them some reference point, and then they become happy and satisfied, right? Yeah, so all the way through, on any of these walks, whether it was Canada 4 times or the US once, or Ireland, I did Ireland, which is very wet. I did Israel, which is very dry and hot. And I did Guyana, which is very, you know, sweaty, and Trinidad, and Mauritius, and the Fiji Islands. Some of you are from Fiji, right? Right. And you were with me in Fiji, yeah. And beautiful opportunities to see the world. See, when you're a Swami, you actually have a chance, you have a little bit of freedom to travel about. But you are strict with yourself, with your senses. You learn self-control, and you learn mind control. You chant mantras, you know, and so you do mantra meditation. And that's how I start my day. My day would begin when it's dark hours. And that way, it's just me and the mantra, and I might have a flashlight, and so I can see, or what you call in India, torch. You say torch, okay? I know you have different language. There's the boot, there's the torch, and there's a flat, and there's a lift, right?
Yeah.
Which we don't say here in Canada. And then in South Africa, so one of the places I go to, they have what's called a robot. What's a robot? So I was asking for directions. You go 2 blocks, you go to see a robot, and then you turn right. And then you 3 blocks, and you turn to the next robot, you turn left. What's a robot? And it's just a light, it's a street light, they call it robots. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, nice to meet people in these different kinds of countries. And you know, wherever you go, you're gonna find that people have the same issues, the same struggles, because we go through the same things, we have the same experience. It's television, it's devices, it's, you know, people trying to get together, there's heartache and heartbreak, you know, people trying to get relationships going and they hardly ever work, you know, maybe 50% of the time or less than that, right? And so we eat, sleep, mate, defend, we're born, we die, we suffer from diseases, and we get old, you know? Really, it's the same everywhere across the board, you know. So it's just that, like in India, for instance, they have Bollywood heroes, and here it's Hollywood heroes, you know. And if you're in, you know, some other place, it's quite similar. We have our heroes, but what we're very committed to do as monks in the Krishna consciousness movement is to identify with the heroes of the Mahabharata, the heroes of Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, the Ramayana. You know, how many people like Hanuman? How many people like Bhishma? Okay, how many people like Kamsa? Hey, I think we're all on the same page here. Yes, so we have such great stories to tell, and our guru, Srila Prabhupada, was there to tell us all about the beautiful stories, heroic stories, stories of adventure, romance, conflict, major battles, bloodshed, and all that, and great moments of enlightenment. It's all there. It's beautiful. He didn't leave anything out. There was nothing amiss, you know. So I walked for Prabhupada, and my first walk was in '96, and after I contemplated in '95 that, you know, it happened like this. I was starting to do some long walks, and it was the winter time, and I just there was a skunk that just walked in front of me, you know, and according to native culture, it's auspicious, you know, to have a skunk nearby, And so it just came to my mind, I think I should walk across the country and just do something for my guru, let him know that who Krishna is. So I did that successfully, and on December the 8th, I finished walking at St. John's, Newfoundland. And it was raining. It was poor. Well, it was raining. It was dull and gray and miserable looking and all that. I was really hoping that some angels would come out through the sky. The sun would shine on us, and might be. And I was hoping for something kind of divine to take place, but it didn't. And it was kind of a message to me. Well, maybe my mission isn't finished. Maybe I have to turn around and do it all over again, go the other way. And I must admit that this is not something you would think about, but one of the biggest challenges of walking alongside of the road, which is what I did, and I'd hit trails sometimes, was the slope, the slant on the road, and how it would affect your skeleton ultimately. That constantly walking like this is going to have some negative impact. So I decided that I guess I should turn around and do the country again and do it the other way so I get balance again. And it actually did work. It did work. So people ask me sometimes, why don't you walk, you went different countries, why don't you try India? I said, well, India, I love India. I love the people of India, but there's a lot of dust, a lot of garbage, a lot of noise. I don't think I could do it. In India, the beautiful thing about the land of Bharat, it has, this wonderful wisdom, jnanam, which when you apply it, it just makes your life successful. And so I maybe one day it'll happen. Maybe some lifetime I'll do India and other countries. I don't know. There's a chair here. There is, Russia. It would take to do Russia. It would take 10 months at least. To do the whole country, maybe if not like a whole year. Do you think it's doable? It's possible. Maybe, I don't know. I have this wanderlust about me.
For a
And,
Canadian, yes. Indians, no.
Canadian,
You know,
not
Victor, no.
Now, there is some, circumstances that occurred as a result of all this power walking. I did have to change my knees. They're new knees right now. And when I went for my first surgery, because you do them one at a time, there was scaffolding in the front of the hospital and in the back. I said, oh, they're doing renovations, so doesn't bother me. So anyways, I put on that hospital gown that they give you, right? And then they put you on a stretcher and they take you into this room, this big room, where, the surgeon is. And he stood like Santa Claus, and he had his elves there. They roll you over, and I was sedated from here down the waist down, and the rest up was here. You can be conscious if you like, but I didn't have much sleep. The people kept saying, "Just breathe heavily, breathe heavily." Okay, so I did. I tried the best I could on that one. And then I was hearing all these noises and, saws going and hammering going on. And I thought, why are they doing renovation work right next to the surgery room? And then, when I was less dozy, I thought, wait a minute, that's not renovations. They're working on me. They're taking up my old knee and throwing it in the garbage and putting something new in there, he said. And, and instantly I was thinking, oh, I'm going to pull away. I can't handle this. But you can't. You're sedated. And you have to have full faith and trust in the surgeon that he knows what he's doing. And so that's what I did. I surrendered to the situation. And it's a good thing I did, you know, he did a good job, and now I can walk again. I have a little hard time getting down doing pranams, you know, in front of the deities, you know. But I can do it. Dandavat's pretty good. You're like this, you know. But the sort of midway through is a little bit tough now, but that's okay. It was worth all the walking was worth it. I made a lot of friends. I got, you know, I built up my legs, and everything was good from that point of view. I think I added some years to my life by going out there and getting a lot of sun, you know. It's beautiful when you think about it. The sun is your ceiling. The trees are your walls. The gravel under you, the dirt under you is your floor. And once in a while, you have a pond or a lake, which is your bathtub, you know. And then you have to always remind you that this is not the place where we should stay. Something called mosquitoes, black flies, horse flies, deer flies, stable flies, all kinds of flies. And they're there simply to sting you, you know, give you a little message that you're not supposed to stay here. You're supposed to go somewhere else. But enjoy it while you can, okay? So try to make the best use of a bad bargain, is what our guru used to say. You know, we have this human form of life, and this human form of life is meant for cultivating your spiritual side. I'll finish with this, okay? One time I had two newspaper, journalists come to me at the same time, from the same town, but from different newspapers. I guess it happens a lot. So I said, so why are you doing this? You know, why are you doing this walk? And of course I explain, I'm just concerned about people, and you probe into your spiritual side. And I said, is this by chance, are you trying to recruit people to your religion? And I said, honestly, no. You know, if you're already following something, fine. Try to improve on it, increase it. But if you don't have anything to believe in, you can consider this offer. Krishna is wonderful. So anyways, it was like that. Met a lot of journalists along the way, and just overall, a lot of nice people. And most people are just indifferent. They're driving. What was that? And then, but they'll see you go on the way to work, and they'll see you on the way back. So my final story is this. This was on my first walk, and there was a woman who pulled over, and she's like a granola girl. Do you know what I mean by that? Somebody who's into all the health food and all this, you know, that kind of stuff. So she said, I saw you in the morning, and now I'm seeing you in the afternoon. What are you doing? I said, I'm walking for the spiritual healing of the nation. Oh, I thought it was something like that. Well, I'm just going down to you enjoy your walk, and I'm going down to the river to connect with the river. Goodbye. So that's my story. I know we have some limited time here. And if you have any questions about walking, long distance walking, and the benefits behind it, or anything about our adventure, I do have a bunch of books here, and we're going to, I know, are you all rich students? Yeah, right. We will make them available at a cost that you agree on, because we've got them pretty much sponsored, if that's okay with you. It's an easy read. Okay, any questions?
Which shoes did you use?
Shoes? Good question. New Balance. Are you familiar with that? New Balance is a fairly big company. So I've tried different things. I've tried Crocs, but the best ones are called Kai boots. Made in Europe, made in Italy, Swiss technology, the best. A little more expensive, but they do the job. They last longer. So they come in different modes, like you'll get them in sandal format or like this. Here. They can look pretty dressy, right? But that's what they are. People ask, they want to, what kind of shoes are you wearing? How many pairs of shoes does it take to walk across Canada? And I can tell them 4.
4. Should I take this one? I'm gonna take a little bit of this one. Thank you. Would you like? Pretty good. Nice. Anything at all? I mean, I just had the idea that people like Gandhi or Shankaracharya, and also more recently, in like 500 years ago, Chaitanya was a great teacher in our lineage. They walked long distances, hundreds of miles. And one of the reasons is because there were no trains then. There weren't any automobiles. They traveled safely, you could say. And they traveled the organic way.
The way it should be, right? And, I just would advise everyone to, put on your shoes and go for a walk. And I got very, very inspired by one German fellow who stayed for some time in our temple in Toronto. And he was going out early in the morning in the winter and just going for a walk. I thought, well, I know people do that. But I started to do it. I started to, for the training, walk in the snow, walk in the snow, walk through the heat, walk in the day, in the night, whatever. Just a different circumstance, even in the rain. And just kind of take it all in. Because the whole idea is you want to develop vairagya, like a sense of detachment from the world. And so it works. It really does. So students, you hop from one building to the next, right? So you probably put in your kilometers every day. And so it's admirable, but I would say, don't give it up. Keep it up. Your post-student era, make sure you keep walking every day, and don't get too, let's say, enamored by the automobile. Which, in fact, one of the chapters here is entitled, I Don't Like Cars. And one of my good friends his name's Ambarish, but he's Alfred Brush Ford. He's the great grandson of Henry Ford. And I just opened up and I said, Ambarish, I don't like cars. I don't like what they've done to the world. They kill 1.25 million people every day, and more get injured by cars. So I don't like cars. I don't like their noise. I don't like the junk that comes out of their exhaust. I don't care. And even, of course, now electric cars don't really do the job. Just to fuel them, you contaminate the earth, right? I think everyone's heard about that. So mobilize yourself, and these bodies are meant from head to toe for the walking and doing well. And while you're walking, and when I was doing my long distance walking, I'd be chanting on my beads most of the day like this. 108 beads on a strand, and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in this way I was, let's say, killing 2 asuras with 1 stone. Meaning I was taking care of my physical being and also my spiritual being. So you cover two areas like that. I usually, now I take my beads, they're small enough I can put them in my pocket. So as a student, you might consider that too. Carry some mala with you and walk between the buildings, or back to your apartment, or back to wherever you're working, the Taco Bell, or whatever. To raise your funds to pay for the tuitions. Just do a little chanting, and that makes, Krishna, you win God's favor, and because you take care of your health all through and through. Hare Krishna. Any questions at all?
I have like a general question, which is,
Should we go for,
Can somebody play a gopher?
how about you? Yeah, do you know what I mean, Sham?
take the mic on.
Take the remote, take the mic.
You have to be a gopher. You have to go for this, go for that, go for here, go for there.
Oh, so give the mic up. Yeah.
Yeah, you just,
I have like a general question. So, it is mostly said that thoughts and emotions are like horses, right? How do we go about taming those horses?
Yeah.
And it's a big question, right? It's the big.
It's a
human
very
question.
classic
Yeah.
question. How do you, we have this thing called the mana, the mind, and it's racing. It's like a monkey, it's like a clown, and it's all over the place. It's in the tree, it's there, it's in the water, it's in India. Wherever you go, the crazy monkey is laughing at you. That's very true. Krishna tells Arjuna, who addresses the same point, says, be detached, carry on with dharma, carry on with your duty, pay attention to the details, do your job really well, be proud of it at the end. So Krishna says, carry on, and but be detached, keep calm and carry on. Have you ever heard that saying? Comes from God. So the queen or the king or Churchill, whoever came up with it, keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
Well, it was Krishna, it came from him first, right? People are just borrowing these sayings and making, they're given the credit. So chanting helps on the beads, it helps to focus on that sound vibration, and then it certainly occupies you and engages you in a positive way. And you have to be a little bit of a fighter. Most of you are familiar with kirtan. Kirtan is when you're happily chanting with instruments and all that stuff. And that's when you're kind of being entertained, and you're entertaining when you do it. But when you chant japa, it's a little bit more like being a warrior, being a little like a kshatriya. You're fighting the mind. The mind can take you to the gutter. So therefore, don't let it control you. And I would say, like, when it comes to making your travels from one building to the other, I would just take notice of the trees and the grass and the beautiful snow. Now, there's ample shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, I am this, I am that, I am the taste of water, I am the light of the sun and the moon, I am this and that. So start to see, the divinity behind everything. Start to have that kind of vision, focus. So while you're chanting, it just helps you to some degree, helps you, it depends on how much energy you put in, to see that Krishna is in everything, and I'm his part and parcel. It's not easy, but the best thing to do is, like, we encourage some people to have like little japa sessions, have little clubs,
We have this mantra meditation
Okay.
every Thursday.
Okay, so that,
So you can-
I think that our gopher should take the microphone and hand it over to you so you can make an announcement. Oh, he's doing pretty good, good style too.
So we have this mantra meditation circle every Thursday on campus, where we all chant together, and also have so you can practice with us, and we also discuss from the Bhagavad Gita particular topics with shlokas and translations.
It's a Bhakti Yoga Club, is it?
No,
Mantra
this is
meditation.
different. This is mantra meditation circle.
Okay.
And then once every month or once quarterly, the Bhakti Yoga Club does kirtan on
They do
campus.
kirtan. Oh, nice,
Yeah.
okay. So, a lot of your spiritual power is strengthened by the sangha, by the association. Like-minded people coming together and building up on their spiritual, bank account, if I could use that term. Yeah. So, you don't need to tackle your spirituality all by yourself. Japa kind of does that. When it comes to kirtan, you're in the company of a few other wonderful people that, where you can easily transcend. So just to answer the question, I think you've got those outlets that will make a difference. Otherwise, it can be quite lonely out there. Some of you feel kind of lonely. Here I'm studying all by myself. I'm not sure where it's going to take me. I'm not sure if I'll success. I'm not sure if I'll pass the exams or pass out.
I think the thing is we all know, right? But we don't understand. We know all the facts and the figures, what to do, what not. You want me to repeat it? So we know, but I don't think we understand. We may pretend to understand, and I think the journey from knowing to understanding is a huge one.
Oh,
Like, I
yes.
know all the facts and the figures and what to do, what not to do, that I shouldn't worry and all of that, good stuff. But that getting from knowing to understanding is really hard.
Well,
At
that's
least
why
for
it's
me.
nice to have discussions, where you can express openly, what you're going through, your journey, and share it with others. And, some people just share their realizations and says, well, I didn't know, I could try that, what you're suggesting. Yeah, having discussions, so that is the perfection of using the mouth. It's to use it to explore how you can make advancement, spiritual advancement. It's just not satisfying enough to, get a degree, Some people boast about, I got a master's degree, working on my master's degree. And so, well, what about your servant's degree? What about eating some humble pie, like becoming humble, to the universe? Thanks for the question.
I think you should be applauded.
Anybody else have any more questions?
So I wanted to ask, you could just pass it.
He's walking.
So my question to you was you told us that your parents were Roman Catholics, right?
Yeah.
So growing up with them, how did you discover Krishna, and how did you transition, or I don't know if
Yeah.
transition is the right word,
Yeah,
but
it is.
how did you get into Krishna
Yeah,
consciousness?
well, glad you asked that question. It's pretty classic. And I'll just say that when I was raised as a Roman Catholic, I always maintained a lot of questions. There was a lot of unanswered questions. Jesus talks about the Heavenly Father, and I just want to know, who's this Father? What does he look like? What does he do? And then I read Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita. I'm the Father. I'm the Heavenly Father. And so I thought, Jesus is the Son, Krishna is the Father. Father and son, they get along well together. They probably go on camping trips together. And I thought it was totally compatible. There wasn't a problem there at all. So the one thing that was, like in Catholicism, it's a very personalistic approach to spirituality. God's a person. That's really important. God can award you, God can punish you, or he can reward you. He has that option. There's an element of fear that's taught, as well as love. It's a combination of the two in that tradition. And you'll find that amongst the Protestants too. That's Christianity. It's very bhakti-oriented. I'd say bhakti means devotion, love, right? But then there were a lot of questions that were not answered about, why is it that this person is born like a filthy, bastard or whatever, and why is that person is poor, And then the element of karma came into play. You get kind of like your just desserts based on your previous actions in a previous life. So that made a lot of sense to me. And so I thought, okay, this is good. And so karma is taught, transmigration of the soul is taught, and then just much more detail is there, that I couldn't find in Christianity. And another thing that really convinced me, our heroes in the late 60s were the Beatles. They were great musicians, and they were kind of ordinary guys. They weren't really mean-spirited, honestly. They weren't like a lot of celebrities. They're just messy people and having affairs all over the place. I mean, they were just kind of much more innocent kind of guys. So the whole world followed them. Really, they did. They had such an impact. And the Beatles made connections with India. They stayed in Haridwar, Rishikesh, you know, and they spent time with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Then later on, they met Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj, and he gave them a new installment of, you know, Krishna and loving, and so we were just affected by we're a whole generation. We were moved by them, like they were Michael Jackson ×4, you know, and better music, I'd say, deeper, richer, you know, and so we were all kind of radical thinkers. We didn't like the Vietnam War, even though you were Canadian. You couldn't understand what it's all about. So we were in a lot of mild protest, you know. That, and so when we met devotees, or I met devotees, you know, people with shaven heads and war paint on their forehead and wearing bed sheets, pink bed sheets. I thought these were incredible creatures. I didn't care for their fashion statement, to be honest with you, but I did like what they have to say, and I did like their practice. And for me personally, I never really could fit in. I was like a misfit. I just couldn't fit into the society. Okay, Ferris wheel, whatever, you know, dances, rock concerts, you know, blow your brains out your ears, and nothing seemed to work for me, you know. And but when I met Krishna conscious people, I said, these people are disciplined. They get up early in the morning. They have fun. They have the best food. And I was raised on a farm. I couldn't stand eating animals, but there was no other. You didn't know there was an alternative. And then you meet these people. Oh, we're following a diet that comes from India, and that's an old tradition. So why don't you give it a shot? And I did give it a shot, and I was happy with it. So that's the transition.
Okay.
And it was a radical change, but I felt I had to do it. The calling, God was like digging into my heart, and you're coming with me. So like some of us, you know, I never got married or anything like that. But most of us will go through that channel, marriage and all that stuff. So I just suggest live a full life. Just make sure at the center is the guy who plays the flute. You just got to keep him there all the time, you know, because he is there. But we have to stop ignoring him. And like I said, see him in the deities, see him in the sound, see him in the prasadam, see as the trees. Can't see them right now. In the snow, you know, when you go by the Bow River, you see him there, the freshness of it all. I'm the taste of water. See him in all the elements around this. You know, there's no place where you won't find him if you just have the eyes to see. Thanks for the question. That was great. Anybody else? You gotta tell me when we should put a close to whoever the organizers are.
If there are no questions, we can have prasadam.
Okay, then we can have prasadam, and then we'll be here, and we can answer any questions. Is there anybody who would like this book? Okay, anybody else? Well, if it's, we will charge a little something for it, but if it's reasonable, you know, I would just say, give us whatever you can, okay? That's all. Is that okay? Is that fair?
Yeah,
You're
that's
students,
okay.
right? You're poor. Poor, you open up your
We are.
pocket, and it's like, wah, wah, wah. Okay, so I guess what we can do then is have the meal, right? Is have the meal and just casually, everyone eats here, right?
Yeah.
And then you can come here and we have the books available over there.
Check the books over there.
Yeah, we also have Bhagavad Gita's there, that's the real book. And this is just like bridge material to bring you closer to the Gita. And for anybody from any background, this is there to help them to get closer to the Gita. Okay, great. So you want to tell people what's the next step?
So, thank you very much for joining us. We have prasadam on this side. So if you guys can make a line here, make a queue, and then take prasadam from this side. Thank you.
We also have Maharaj's business cards with his code on his website, so you can use that.